Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. I have had a very stressful day, and it's because of my own undoing. I am suffering the consequences of my actions, and yeah, I'm a total fool. So I want to basically just tell you the story of what I've gone through with my computer recently, and yeah, because it's kind of a silly story. It affects my YouTube and streaming, of course. Almost made things a heck of a lot worse, but luckily there is a sort of happy ending. And yeah, I'm not super focused on the gameplay here. I'm just going to be playing some Bomb King because I can kind of just play him and not really worry too much and focus more on the actual story of what happened. So if you've been following my Twitch channel, specifically, then you probably know that I have had a lot of technical problems with my computer going back many months, and every now and then I would complain about said problems on stream, and sometimes, especially recently, those technical issues would actually surface and rear their ugly head on my stream. For example, actually the past few streams now, I've had what I deem the black screen phenomenon, where my screen will go completely black, I'll hear a disconnect sound from Windows, and then I'll hear a reconnect sound a few moments later, the screens will come back on, and usually a program will have crashed. And when it's happened on stream, Paladins would crash, and then OBS would get all kinds of screwed up. And yeah, it's, you know, a bit of a problem. So yeah, that is very annoying, and I've also had issues prior to this with my softwares on my computer just crashing, period, right? Like I would open Blender, try and do a render, crash. Open Path of Exile, try and play that, crash. At one point it got really bad to the point where Warframe itself, alright, a game that is notoriously well optimized, was crashing when I would try to open it. And so I knew there was some sort of serious problem. And this Warframe crash in particular that I'm talking about was happening almost a year ago now at this point. And I didn't really know what was causing it. I was literally tearing my hair out over this issue. Okay, maybe not literally, but I like to think it's why my hairline is terrible. And yeah, this, I tried a whole bunch of things. I tried messing with the GPU. Eventually I did find a solution, which is to underclock my CPU. I installed Intel's XTU, or Extreme Tuning Utility, which is a product by Intel that allows you to either underclock or overclock your PC. Am I gonna die here? Oh boy. Okay, I guess I'll just heal up out of combat. Man! Ah, where is our healer at right now? I am so out of position. Anyways. Now, yeah, that solved a lot of the issues for the most part. There were still some stability problems, and notably, the black screen phenomenon did sometimes happen even with the underclock. But yeah, eventually, you know, this July, August, relatively, right around that time, is when we found out that, you know, or I guess when it went mainstream, that Intel was selling CPUs that ended up being defective, right? They were unstable, they were crashing. Wow! Oh boy. And yeah, that was a big fiasco, right? And a lot of people have suffered the results of that. And I am one of those people who ended up being affected by these faulty CPUs. I have a 13th gen Intel CPU. It came with my computer. It was a pre-made, because I have absolutely no idea how to make a computer by myself. And that's actually what we're going to get to later. That's the main focus of what happened today. But yeah, so I realized that, yeah, underclocking my CPU was actually a solution other people had come to try and solve these problems in the interim, and that Intel was working on a BIOS update. So at that point I realized, okay, I probably need to switch my CPU around. I need to either switch to AMD or maybe try and find an Intel processor that's stable. And in the meantime, I was waiting for the BIOS update. I eventually downloaded the BIOS update, plugged it in, right, did all the BIOS updating things, the hacking wizardry. Okay, it's not that complicated. And yeah, it ended up improving things, no doubt. But the black screen phenomenon was still happening, and as, again, you've noticed if you've been on my Twitch channel recently, it got relatively worse. It's happening a lot more on stream now. And so I decided to go ahead and purchase a 12th gen Intel CPU, which was not affected by the stability problems, to see if I could socket that in and have, you know, yes, a slightly worse CPU, but a CPU that would be stable. And the reason I decided to go down that route originally was because if I wanted to switch to AMD, after researching and talking with friends who know more about this stuff than me, I realized I would have to replace my entire motherboard for that. And replacing the motherboard is not fun. that is basically taking your entire computer apart and then putting it back together again. Like, that's not something I wanted to do. I wanted to avoid that at all costs. So, downgrading seemed like a reasonable option. And I checked and made sure that the 12th gen would be compatible with my motherboard. And it seemed like it would be fine. So I got the 12th gen CPU, and I got some thermal paste so I could actually, make sure it was cooled properly. And all that stuff finally arrived, and all of it was together today, which is the 1st of October when I'm recording this video. You'll see this on the 2nd of October. And, I suck at hardware. Hardware is something totally beyond my, my skills, right? My depth. I'm out of my depth when I'm working with that. I've done a few things hardware-related in the past. I have installed new RAM sticks on my computer, a few times, actually. And I also installed a hard drive, and both of those were relatively easy processes, although I was still nervous I would break something through the entire course of doing it. And I did a lot of research. I watched many, many videos installing CPUs, and it all looked like a pretty straightforward process. So I figured, okay, I might as well take a crack at it. Maybe I can save some money and not have someone do this for me. I was very scared of doing that with the whole motherboard switching process, and if I ever were to switch out the motherboard, I probably would just pay someone to do it for me at that point. But just the CPU transfer, it seemed simple enough. So, this morning, I cracked open my computer case, and I went ahead and took the coolant fan off. That was easy. I went ahead and unclamped the hatch, and pulled the CPU out, and that was all fine. And then, I went to switch in the new CPU, the 12th gen CPU. And I was so nervous because, like I said, I know nothing about hardware, and I'm working with thousands of dollars of equipment here. I have a 4090. That alone is at least like $1,000 to $2,000. I don't know. I don't remember how much those are going for, but it's a lot. So I didn't want to break anything, and I was actually physically sweating because of how anxious I was. Like, this is something that's always been a little bit daunting to me. And yeah, so I inevitably just put the CPU into the computer. I put the thermal paste on, ended up putting too much thermal paste on, actually, but better too much than not enough, right? And put everything back together, reassemble it, went to turn it on. It didn't turn on. It didn't turn on! Oh, that was so scary. And the way it didn't turn on was basically, I plugged it in, pressed the power button, and not a thing happened. Not at all. Double check that I actually flipped the switch on my power supply and everything was plugged in properly. It was. So yeah, that wasn't working. That was scary. But that's not the truly most scary part of this. The most scary thing by far is I decided, okay, well, this isn't working. Let me put back in the 13th gen and make sure that I haven't royally screwed up the computer somehow, right? The 13th gen should be able to work. It's the original CPU that was in there. My computer was just working. I was watching videos with lunch before I took it out, right? So it was fine. So I took the 12th gen out, put the 13th gen back in, put on a tiny little bit of thermal paste, and it didn't start. It didn't boot. It didn't boot. I was so terrified, dude. I was like, oh my god. I just royally screwed up this multi-$1,000 PC, and I'm not going to be able to do my job, which is YouTube and streaming, right? This is not just my hobby. This is like, I make money off this. So, oh crap. What the heck am I going to do? And yeah, I was just freaking out. So at that point, I decided to talk with one of the friends who I was conferring with. Oh, hello. Yeah. Jeno, stop it! I'm trying to tell a story! Oh, God. I went and talked with one of my friends, conferred with him, showed some pictures, and he had some hypotheses, but, you know, there's only so much you can do from some grainy photos on a crappy Android phone. Not that Android phones are crappy, I just have a crappy Android phone, you know? But yeah, he hypothesized that I might have, like, royally screwed things up. And so I decided to look for some tech stores near me, some tech repair stores, called up a guy, and eventually I ended up taking my computer into a local shop here. And the man I worked with was an absolute gentleman. He was fantastic. I left a 5-star review. Like, he did a fantastic job. But, yeah. Ooh, hello. Okay. Eventually, he sussed out the problem. And we finally get to the part where I feel like an absolute colossal, monumental, gargantuan idiot. So, when you put in a CPU into the computer socket on your motherboard, there's a specific alignment. There's for Intel CPUs and motherboards, there's a triangle, which indicates how you're supposed to align it. There's a triangle on the motherboard and then a matching triangle on the socket, and you're supposed to make it so those triangles are on the same corner. And I'm completely inexperienced. Again, I'm totally out of my depth on this. So I thought I saw a triangle when I was slotting in the CPU. That was not the right triangle. In hindsight, I probably should have realized that. But, you know, hindsight is 20/20. And at the time, I was so nervous that, like, I was just trying to spend as little time in the computer case as possible because I was so scared of breaking something. So, yeah. Turns out, I had put both chips in upside down. Yeah. You know, that's kind of a rookie mistake, and that's also kind of a big problem. Oh, you know. Okay. So, yeah, that's a massive blunder, and no wonder my computer was not turning on. And here's where it gets, I guess, a little bit sad. So, the guy who was working there, he basically cleaned up all the stuff, cleaned off all the thermal paste, made sure everything was pristine. There was also somehow, like, a bit of paste or dust or something got into the actual socket itself, cleaned that off, and he put the 12th gen in. Right side this time. He put it in the right way. And it didn't turn on. The computer actually, we got more progress than we originally had. Basically, when I put the 12th gen in the first time, upside down, obviously it didn't even turn on. Nothing happened. No fans turned on, no lights turned on, nothing. This time, the light on my GPU turned on. Not the lights on my fans, like the LED stuff. Just the light on the GPU. It turned on, and the fans turned on, but the lights didn't turn on, and it didn't boot. And so we decided, okay, might be a busted chip. I hypothesized maybe there's something to do with the BIOS settings that's not allowing it to boot. But basically, we ended up swapping that back to the original chip that I had in the computer, put it in right side up, gave the computer good dusting as well, and it turned on. It booted, and that's how I'm able to record this video for you right now. Yeah. So, yeah, all is back to normal. All is back to the way it was before I decided to attempt to do brain surgery on my computer while being less than an amateur at hardware assembly. Yeah. And so, you know, obviously, I'm so grateful that my computer is still working, right? I played a few hours of a relatively hardware-intensive video game just to make sure everything was running fine, and it seems to be running fine. And we'll see in tomorrow's stream if the black screen phenomenon happens. Hopefully it doesn't. Maybe taking the chip out and then putting it back in with a fresh coat of thermal paint and making sure the computer was all nicely dusted and stuff, and just extra clean. Maybe that'll somehow resolve the issue. I'm highly doubtful that that's the case, but maybe it'll feel a little bit better. I don't know. But yeah, regardless, I still have a faulty 13th gen Intel CPU in my computer. And so if I still notice that there are stability problems over the next few weeks, I guess I'm going to have to try and find a different way to fix this. Now, if you heard what I just said about how the 12th gen CPU didn't work, despite it being aligned the proper way, and you might have a hypothesis as to why that might be the case, then I'd love to hear your thoughts on that in the comments section down below. But yeah, my other idea was to switch to AMD, but again, that, you know, has a whole lot of hassle. I have to buy a new motherboard, I have to buy a new chip, and I have to pay for the services to put it together, because holy crap, I'm not doing that myself. So, it's quite the pickle, and it all started because I decided to splurge and buy a really nice computer, and everything in this computer has been fantastic, except that stinking CPU, which has caused me over a year of headaches. So, yeah, it's not a great situation to be in, but at least I still have a functioning computer at the end of the day, even if it's not totally flawless, totally stable. And yeah, I'm just going to have to do more research and see where to go from there. But I thought I'd share that story because it could have ended very differently. My idiot blunder might have cost me my motherboard. It could have been broken beyond repair. And yeah, I might have had to take a break from uploading videos and streaming until I get all that sorted out. Or I would have had to upload from my laptop. Like, oh my gosh, it could have been a nightmare. It could have really seriously negatively affected the channel. So I suppose the moral of the story that I have learned is, 1. If you are going to attempt something like this, and you feel like you're in over your head, take your freaking time and double, triple check to make sure you got everything right. Even if you're super nervous and super scared, take that extra time to make sure you did it right. And also, I hear a lot of talk about, building a computer. Yeah, you can do that. That's something that your regular old consumer can do. And you know what? If you do enough research into it, you probably can. But it's still quite a difficult and stressful thing. And if you're someone like me who doesn't know much about hardware and who has a very juiced up computer, and you have a problem with it or you want to switch out a component, for some components, it might just be worth it to actually pay someone who knows more about it than you to do it for you. So that way you don't screw it up and have to deal with all the stress and the tearing your hair out of realizing you made a mistake. So, lots of morals to be learned from that story. Oh my gosh, it was quite a difficult thing to go through. But yeah, should be able to stream Wednesday, which I guess is today when you're watching this video. And yeah, we'll just go from there. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this very questionable story, then make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new around here, and if you want to support my efforts towards fixing my hardware, then you can support the channel in a number of ways. You can become a member by joining the YouTube channel down below, choose your price, and get different rewards for the different price points. You can also go to the Nexus, nexus.gg/AndrewChicken. If you were thinking of buying crystals, you can buy crystals there and support the channel directly in the process. Or, I don't know, if you just want to give a donation, I do have a tips page, which you can find on my Twitch, I believe. Do I actually have it on my main channel in the links? I should. I don't remember if I do. Let's go check.
Guys, this is it.
I do. Yeah, look at that. There's a little tips page right here. Boom. So yeah, if you just want to leave a tip, you can do that, although that is extremely generous. So yeah, all of your support is greatly appreciated. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.